Hello and welcome to my mountain. Today, we are going to talk about the size of my dick. Don't you love clickbait titles? My dick size is impressive. Well, that was a short video. Thanks for joining me on my mountain. I guess a proper video would help better and gain in views than a dick bragging video. Fine, poverty and privilege it is. Today I want to take a break from personal opinion on readings of history to go over a comic that recently, and by recently, I mean today, came to my attention. I know this comic is rather old by now, but nonetheless, I want to go over it. The short comic is called On a Plate, created by one Toby Morris, of the Pencil Sword. Now personally I would like to dig into the background of the artist here, and give a brief little explanation on him. But, I just want to go over the comic, and why waste any time? Well, let's waste a few more seconds. I want to make it clear, I like the premise of this comic, and I can agree with it as well as disagree. I will go over both of my views, as to why I do and do not like it. That being said, let's hop on into it.
This is Richard. His parents are doing okay.
And this is Paula. Her parents? Not so much.
Richard's house is warm and dry. His shelves are full of books and his fridge is full of food.
Paula's house is full of people, and not much else. It's damp, and noisy, and she keeps getting sick.
Let's take a moment here to look at the art. Am I the only one who thinks these quote-unquote babies look like 80-year-olds with dementia? Laughing lines, bad hair, dirt on their faces, and the glossy look on Richard's face. The fact they look like they were adults drawn and then shrunk down after the fact. Now I hate to rag on about artwork, because bad art does not mean the piece itself is bad. Plenty of works of art, be it paintings, or music, or video, or even games, can have bad visuals, but still be impactful for its meaning or message. Pablo Picasso, celebrated for his work and his accomplishments, but are his paintings all that? I guess they are, considering, but it's not so much the paintings that we remember him by, but the style and the imagery it inspires. Music. A lot of genres of music were considered horrible. I think punk was one that a lot of people hated, but the raw emotion and message in the music is still present, even if you don't like the song itself. Video. Another visual medium, and I have the perfect example. Xavier Renegade Angel was a show on Adult Swim, and might still be on if you are lucky. It is a horrible visual mess, but the entertainment value of it, and the thoughtfulness of the script makes it one of the best shit shows around, and a personal favorite. As for games, there are many. I think on Newgrounds you can find a lot of games that look bad but are still entertaining or drive home a message, and if not there, other places. That being said, it's still kind of ugly to look at these kids or babies, who look like they are 10 steps away from their coffin. Moving on to the actual story, we have Richard and Paula. Given so far, we know this is going to be a privilege-based comic, showing what it's like for kids to grow up in different households. How I will come back to this page in a bit, as I need a page further along to really drive home this point.
Richard's parents will do anything for their baby.
And so will Paula's. That's why they're working 2 jobs.
Richard goes to a great school, well-resourced, good kids. His teachers love their jobs.
At Paula's school, the class sizes are large, the school is underfunded, and looks it. Her teachers are tired, stretched thin from the stress.
So maybe we can see why the expectations set for Richard
might be slightly different for Paula.
Yes, the economic impact on the family due to bills or debt can have a massive impact on the child's development. It is proven over and over again, and that's not up for contest here. I firmly agree that different economic prosperities of the families can directly impact the child's development. However, that is not a reason to hold your child to a different standard. If you want your child to succeed, you push them to be their best and don't accept anything less. The fact Richard's parents don't like the B+ that he had received in his report card, I am assuming that's what it is, shows that his parents want him to strive to achieve. Now, does the fact that Paula's parents are fine with a B bad? No, not every child is gifted with the smarts for academics, as evident in the US school system and poor test scores. Maybe this is normal for Paula. That does, however, give the child the sense that a B is okay and acceptable, holding Paula to a lower standard than Richard. Well, Richard has books and a good school, that's why he has better grades, not to the fault of, or the pressure put on, by his parents. This is a good point, but a bad one. Yes, Paula does not have books in her room. But what does Paula have? A school library, or the public one, is both available to check out books. They are economically challenged, you say? It is free to check out a book. Last time I had done so, that is no excuse. She can't make it to the library? She is at school every day, how could she not? Next issue is the teachers. They are there to teach kids, and help them to better themselves. It is not fault on the teachers but on the school system and funding given by the state, but it is not an issue easily solved, and this is a credible problem. I will give the author that, but it does not solely rely on the teachers to improve the child, it is also the parents' job. But they are too busy, you say? Possible, but it is a responsibility, one they knew, when having a child. They did not plan to have Paula? They have to deal with the consequences of their actions nonetheless. Now I don't want to pin everything on the parents here, life can be hard to feed a family in a poor economy. But everyone should push their child to do greater, to always push them, not to settle as it does not help. The next issue is the child themselves. It is not the parents or the teachers making the grades. It is the child. Richard worked for the grades he got, studying and doing his homework. Paula watched TV. It is the responsibility of the child to achieve those grades, regardless of conditions. Yes, it can be hard, but it is not impossible and it has been done before. Back to page 1, Richard's fridge full of food, has nothing to do with anything. Paula's fridge may also contain food, but it's not that more food in the fridge means better success in any means. The parents are working 2 jobs, and looking at the picture, she isn't starving. The house being damp is bad, yes, but I fail to see how that affects school and grades, but it does affect health, and getting sick a lot can interfere with school, so there is that, but that by no means means she cannot complete schoolwork. I remember having to do schoolwork when I was out of school. I was still required to complete the same amount of work as the other kids, unless something serious happened. People being in the house can interrupt with the child studying, and I concede on this point, it is a valid one. I can only assume that these people are here for parties and drinking sessions, given the context of the story, but that would be wrong as there is no real hard justifiable evidence given in the comic. You know what they say when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me.
And over the years all these little differences,
they start to add up, to build something bigger.
And because each little difference sneaks by unnoticed,
then maybe Richard starts to believe that he deserves to be on top. That he did it all himself.
And maybe Paula starts to settle. Learns to know her place.
But I hope not.
I really hope not.
And that is the final page. Let's talk about it. This is where the author gets this nearly spot on the head. As much as some would hate to admit it, there is privilege in the world. However, just because you belong to one group of people or another does not mean you have that privilege. Richard and Paula are both white, but does Paula have privilege? I wouldn't say so. Richard is male, does he have privilege? No, because you can swap the places of Richard and Paula, and it would not matter. Does having a better economical upbringing grant you better access to things later in life? Certainly. I don't have a trust fund paying my way in life right now. Now this comic did not make this a race or gender issue and I am thankful for that, as I think most artists on the left side of things might have. This comic tackles one issue mainly, the economic stability of a family and the impact of it on bringing up a child in the world. Let's look at the second to last page again, and compare Richard and Paula. Richard is sitting in a chair reading a book, Paula is washing dishes and trying to read one. First I want to point out if you are washing dishes and trying to use that money to make your way through college, you are doing it wrong. Just because you are in college doesn't mean you are unable to look out for better opportunities and a better job, and while you may have to cut back on your studies somewhat, a lot of job places will accommodate you. Even then, there is nothing wrong with finishing college slower than others. Now at this time they are probably in their late teens to early 20s. Next row we see Richard's dad telling him he can get him an internship, while Paula's dad is sick, and possibly on his deathbed, who knows, you know what they say about assuming. This is another example of economics playing a huge part in the course of someone's life. Richard's parents presumably worked hard to get their lifestyle, and are using it to better their son's life. Paula on the other hand is getting the short end of the stick, most likely unable to afford health care. A sickness in the family can affect anyone and it is truly a sad thing to behold. Next row both are trying to get loans, so late 20s early 30s, Richard gets the loan, while Paula is denied. Paula may have debts due to hospital bills trying to take care of her father or college, while Richard would have no debts on his record thanks to his family paying for everything. Again another spot on depiction from the author. The last page is where it turns south again. Richard is working a desk job, and going by the color of his hair and Paula's, it's a high-stress job but they can only be in their late 30s early 40s. Notice how Paula is still in a shitty dead-end job. Paula settled for getting B's in school, she settled for working at a shitty dishwashing job, and here she is this late in life, settling for working as a hostess or caterer. I cannot stress this enough. If you settle for something, you cannot expect good things to just happen out of the blue. If you settle, you will remain in the same position. If you settle, you will be stuck in time, in the same place, and seemingly it will feel as if life has just stopped. It has happened to me, many points in my life. The last two rows, Richard is talking about how he worked for everything he did, while the comic points out the irony of what he said, saying how he never had anything given to him on a plate, while reaching for something off of a plate. Two things about this. 1. Richard is a massive butterbutt cunt. Not acknowledging the help you have received in life, which has affected you so, like, let's say for instance, your father getting you a job that started you off high in the corporate world, is a dick move. You had help, and while there is nothing wrong with getting help, it is a dick move to pass it off as entirely your own work, and I think most would agree. 2. While it may not have been entirely of his own doing, he was the one to put forth the effort. Remember back on page 2, while Richard was studying and Paula was watching TV? He put in the time and effort. Remember when I said that it wasn't the teachers or the parents earning the grades for Richard? It was Richard doing the work and effort. So why is it so bad for Richard to be rewarded for the extra effort he put into it? Now, one more part before we end this video. White privilege does not exist, race privilege does not exist. What people perceive as these, I think, are really economic quote-unquote privilege. Yes, children who do not live in poverty have a higher chance of success in life. Does that mean that children born into poor families are doomed to follow the path of their parents? Not at all. During the history of the United States, when immigrants came over, either to escape poor governing practices of their home state, or to seek better opportunities, a lot of these immigrants were very, very poor. However, there have been many cases, where children of these poor immigrants rose out of it, and became successful workers of the system and benefited from it, lifting their life out of poverty. It is entirely possible. I don't know whether or not the artist's intentions were to point out that higher income families always have a better life, and that they have privilege and need to recognize it, or that poor families are doomed to stay poor because they were not offered the same opportunities, or whatever else you can think of. I did not make the comic. Regardless of that, I still like the comic, as it does show that money is an issue in the factors of people's life, not just yours, but your children's, or future children's lives. Thank you for joining me on my mountain. I am sorry for those who watch my videos about the time schedule of me uploading these videos. Nearly every day I am doing something, and in the few hours a day I am at home doing nothing, I am either sleeping, or honestly, getting sucked into a game. Minecraft and Elite Dangerous have been my kryptonite recently. Anyway, thanks for watching.